there is a shift in CEO sentiment. It's almost a cliche to say that we're in a world of never-ending uncertainty, and I think humans like to put patterns on things. That uncertainty is going to continue. And so what CEOs are doing, most of them are prioritizing growth, but a significant proportion of them are also running cost programs at the same time. So it's a little bit of everything, everywhere, all at once. The reason for the cost program is to be fit for growth, to fund investments in AI and in technology, and also to give a little bit of more buffer, because incredibly lean systems don't work well in very volatile times. And then the final thing I would say is that company boards, more than 55% of CEOs report to us that their boards are getting more involved in strategy, more involved in the running of the business. Again, I think that's a result of the uncertainty and the volatility. I think CEOs are not necessarily more risk averse. I think that with these risks come opportunities, and people realize they have to be in the game to win the game. But they are certainly feeling a higher level of risk. They're certainly feeling a higher level of stress as a result of that. You know, there are some things that the CEO alone can do, but that also means it can sometimes be a lonely place to be. Okay. But in general, I don't see a risk aversion. I see a willingness to invest and a willingness to seek those growth opportunities. Well, so firstly, I think we think AI is an enormous opportunity. We also think it's far too early to see what the outcomes are going to be. Every year in Davos, everyone says this is what AI will be, but actually, this is a very complex and uncertain space moving incredibly quickly. And most of those benefits have yet to be realized. Regulation will be key. There are literally hundreds of initiatives at the nation-state level all the way through to academia that are looking at governance for AI, at regulation for AI. Ultimately, that's a matter of political will. You know, it's a matter of what does the consumer want? What does the voter want? And so you're going to see massive differences. And that will lead to competitive advantage for some players. It may lead to regrets later. It's an incredibly sensitive topic. And history tends to tell us that with any new innovation, whether it's an engineering innovation, a financial innovation, a technological innovation, we only really get a grip on it once we've made some big mistake.
Finally, you lead the Marsh Climate Group. How you convince CEOs to adapt that transition related to climate change?
It's very interesting because, you know, climate and sustainability was very up and now apparently it's very down. But actually, if you look under the surface, the growth in investment in the energy transition has been enormous. Over the last 2 years, a surge to $2 trillion of investment in the energy transition. That's double the investment in the fossil fuel industries. And a lot of that comes, there's this old saying in English, which is necessity is the mother of invention. And we have a necessity for an enormous surge in power to fuel data centers, to fuel digital infrastructure. And in many use cases, some of the renewable energy is actually the cheapest and the fastest to get to scale. Weirdly, we've gone from trying to make the business case at a time, as it becomes less popular, the business case becomes stronger. So I think this is actually a win-win. And I still see it being a very serious opportunity. And I think that, again, if you look at digital infrastructure just as one case study, it's not just about carbon and greenhouse gas emissions. It's also about land use. It's also about water use. And, you know, data centers need the sort of permission of the communities they operate within to be built and to work. So I think this remains a win-win for corporate leaders. Certainly, you know, the business cases depends on the price of the comparable energy sources. I think part of that is about just being realistic about the amount of time it takes. We have this famous energy trilemma, which is about, you know, the transition and affordability and security. I think some of the plans that we had were not affordable. We've now perhaps scaled them over a slightly longer time. We've got this big boom in energy use. All of that is coming together, I think, to keep sustainable energy as a very popular option.